you see the dots? Has that come through?
The dots come through.
Perfect. Okay, good stuff. Hi and welcome. I'm Tristan Hunt, Regional Manager at the Association for Electronic Music, AFEM. AFEM is a not-for-profit trade association created to represent the common interests of those companies and individuals whose business is electronic music and to advocate for best practice in the genre. Central to our work is addressing the topic of mental health, where we share and provide information and advice to aid mental well-being and help those who might be struggling. Wherever you are and whatever you might be doing or feeling, we hope this session will help you with your challenges and offer a little inspiration. In our session today, we're very fortunate to be joined by renowned DJ and producer and now qualified psychotherapist, Benjaminm, aka Bushwhacker. Matthew, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks, Tristan, and thanks for asking me to come and do this with you. It's an honour.
Oh, you're very welcome, and it's great to see you here today. I think, look, sort of before we go on, it'd be great to know a little bit sort of about your background and where you are today. You've obviously had a stellar career as an artist, which people are very familiar with, and it's a career which has taken you sort of pretty much all over the world to every country. But you've recently been trained as a qualified psychotherapist and set up your own practice, Listen Up Therapy, and with the aim of helping folk in our industry and with their mental health challenges. Can you just tell us a little bit about sort of your own journey, your mental health challenges, and what inspired you to retrain as a psychotherapist?
Sure. I have had an amazing career with music from a very young age as well. I started very young into the industry that we all know now, and although it's been incredible, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and you know, it's taken me a kind of an adult lifetime to comprehend what those ups and downs are in terms of how they can affect my mental health and everybody's mental health. And you know, I had a lot of fun doing what I was doing, but I also had some of them very difficult times, whether they were to do with isolation, loneliness, substance abuse, addiction, social anxiety was and still can be a massive one. And part of my journey took me into quite a dark place. So I was in and out of trying to stay clean and sober for a multitude of reasons for a long time. And I finally got there with it, and I don't do any of those things anymore that I used to do and haven't done for a number of years. But part of that process for me was learning about mental health and learning about looking after our mental health and self-care and doing things for ourselves that are going to give us the strength, give us the tools to be able to survive and thrive in what we love to do in creative industries. So yeah, 5 years ago, part of my rehabilitation was being taught things like cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, yoga nidra, meditation practices, one-to-one counselling, group counselling, and I was in therapy for many years as well, weekly and bi-weekly. And 5 years ago, coming through that period with all this newfound knowledge and the experience of actually using it on a daily basis was a revelation for me. And I haven't really looked back since then. I took a massive interest in why we do what we do, why we are the way we are, what makes us tick, and what really was that all about? What is that all about? And there started my journey into psychotherapy. Started off as an interest in a psychology degree online, but I very soon came to the conclusion that was very broad and wasn't quite where I was going with everything. So I ended up signing up to do a master's degree in transactional analysis psychotherapy in London while I was still living in Ibiza. And yeah, fast forward to now, here I am. I've just qualified with my psychotherapeutic counselling diploma. I'm still doing the master's, but I've been in private practice for a while now, seeing clients one-to-one online, and have done a number of placements, one in a drug and alcohol centre in Soho, another one in a counselling centre for people with HIV, and a current placement that I do for a hospice in East London, which provides bereavement counselling for people in that borough. So lots and lots of work with different groups of people, different demographics from all walks of life. And yeah, I'm still on the journey. I'm still learning, and I'm practicing. And starting to get my feet on the ground with where I can use my experience in the music world, in the creative world, to integrate into my psychotherapeutic practices and further help people that maybe have an understanding that I might know what they're going through. So that's where I'm at today with it.
That's wonderful. So you're drawing upon your sort of deep experience, your deep personal experience, and thank you for being so open with us today. I really appreciate that. You're drawing on that experience to help other people, which I think is wonderful. And you've now obviously fully retrained, so you're completely qualified to do so. Really interesting. You talk about the benefits of therapy. I did an interview with DJ Youssef, along similar lines to the conversation we're having today, and he also spoke very highly about the benefits that he's had from therapy. It's something which I've been able to have myself, which I found hugely beneficial. And I think that the more people you seem to speak to in our industry now across the electronic music spectrum at all levels, like they're all saying the same thing, which is therapy is incredibly beneficial if you can get access to it. Would you advocate sort of therapy more broadly for anyone that can get access to it?
Very much so. And there are lots of therapists, lots of different types of therapy, and there are many options, but they're not so easily available to people initially. So the NHS do signpost and give therapy to clients that have come along through their GPs and recommendations, but there are often very long waiting lists. You don't get many sessions a lot of the time, but it's there, and it's an opening. And there are places like some of the placements where I've been working, which aren't specifically for music industry, but where people can go and get help. But it's not easy. And I've worked with people across many different age groups, and what I noticed was that the younger people that were coming to me, that had been referred to me or that had approached me, had said how difficult it was to find therapy and not be put on a really long waiting list. And like some of them that were in universities would only get 1 or 2 sessions and were really struggling. So I'm a huge advocate of therapy. I think everybody can benefit from therapy. What I have noticed is that a lot of clients that do come to me have told me that they've been in therapy, they've had therapy, and it hasn't quite worked out for them. So the relationship that the client forms with the therapist, in my belief, is the most important thing, the therapeutic alliance that you build up between therapist and client, and that can allow real growth to happen.
Fantastic. And have you seen a lot more men talking about the topic of mental health these days? Because certainly from our perspective, that's something which seems to be a lot more common now, where maybe sort of 10, 15 years ago, it really wasn't. And now people are being so much more open about it and really sort of like sharing and addressing their challenges more openly.
They really have. It's much easier for people to talk about this now, for men to talk about this now, I think, because some people have come forward over the last few years. It's become more common, more open. Much as we can debate until the cows come home, the toxicity or the negativity around social media, there's also been a lot of benefit for people at times using that platform to at least be able to show that they can be open and talk about their feelings. How that then gets interpreted, it can go in a multitude of different directions, which aren't always beneficial to people, but nevertheless, it's put it out there. It's put it out there in an open domain, and people have seen that. A lot of people, I mean a lot of people, have written to me through my social networks and said, I watched that video that you posted about mental health awareness or addiction recovery or something like that, and it's really resonated with me, and this is where I've come from, and this is what's going on for me. And it's allowed people to open up and to give them a little bit more confidence to approach the likes of myself.
That's wonderful, really inspiring, and it's great that people are coming to you and having those conversations. So for people watching this today, and this is obviously going out worldwide, what advice would you give to them, people that might be struggling in lockdown, or they've got issues of loneliness or maybe frustration and anger at not being able to go out and DJ and perform and do the jobs they normally do, maybe whatever aspect of the industry they're in? Is there any advice you can share with us today to help people that might be struggling with those sorts of difficulties?
There is, but first of all, I think I'd like to be very transparent and say that I'm struggling with those aspects, regardless of the fact that I've retrained and I'm launching a new business and I'm in a much better position than I potentially could have been. The fact that as a performer, that's something I've dedicated my life to since I was old enough to walk and talk in many ways, and has been such a massive part of my life. I still struggle quite regularly with the fact that I haven't been able to go and DJ. It's not just about money. It's about connecting with people. It's about connecting with people in the same room, in the same space. So the live streams, they've been great and they are great, but there's something about that human connection. So I just want to put it out there that it's affecting everybody, whatever your belief or perception might be of somebody else doing better or worse than you. It really is at some level affecting everybody in a social sense. I think it's really important to try to ground in and remember that whatever you're feeling, it will pass. Like all things, it will pass. So if you're feeling angry, you're stuck in that angry place and frustration and anger. It can feel like that's it. You're just stuck there. It will pass. The sun goes up, the sun goes down. And look for help. Go and talk to some people. Talking to your friends is great, but it depends whether you want opinions or whether you want professional help. And that social connection and communication is very, very important. But, you are going to get lots and lots of different opinions, and they're going to be based on the preconceptions and the fears and feelings of whoever you're talking to as well. So with therapy and counselling and speaking to people, you're working with somebody who's going to be non-judgmental, give you a safe place to explore what you're feeling and to allow you to express yourself without worrying about what someone's going to think about you or what you're feeling.
So that non-judgmental space that therapy provides is so vital, isn't it? It's a non-biased space of positive information and feedback. And very open and great of you to share that you're struggling, because I think it's something that's right across the industry. I am as well. Like, I've been struggling really badly with my insomnia's come back recently. My anxiety's been high. And I think so many of us are social creatures, whether you're an artist and performer or whether you're working backstage or a record label or you're just coming into the industry as an intern. It doesn't really matter what you do, does it? That we're all struggling at the moment because we're deprived of those environments, like the connecting space of the club or the festival or the dance floor, and seeing our friends on a regular basis. We have to remember that those normal things that we have taken away from us make things much, much harder, don't they? It's right across the board.
Much harder, and I in one of my insomniac moments this week, actually, I posted on my personal page. I said, I'm about 3 times a week I'm waking up between 3 and 5 in the morning at the moment. The struggle is real, and I've had literally hundreds of people say, so have I, same here, and I'm like, wow, so we're all up at 3:30 in the morning. Is this because we haven't been allowed out for such a long time? What's going on?
Right, I think there's a lot of truth in that, and I'm one of those people. I think we're up at some of the similar times. We should start chatting and just have conversations. And so I think that's really important, isn't it? That whoever's watching this, wherever you are, you're not alone. We're all going through this together at different levels and in different ways. This is a shared struggle, and even for somebody like yourself, that's obviously put a lot of work in. I've done sort of 10 years of therapy myself to work through my anxiety and stuff, to allow me to do stuff like this today, which makes me really nervous doing interviews and panels. But it's an ongoing journey, isn't it? It is a journey. It's an ongoing bit of work, which sort of continues sort of like now and maybe beyond lockdown. What sort of closing tips and advice would you like to share with people to take away that maybe they can go and practice or use to their benefit?
Many people may well have heard these before, but I believe that they really, really work. Nature is a massive one, and if you're stuck indoors all the time or most of the time, that will affect you regardless of whether there's a pandemic going on or not. And trying to make a disciplined effort to give yourself at least an hour a day out to the best of your ability is going to make a difference. Doing it regularly, doing these self-care practices regularly makes a huge difference. One of the experiences that I've had, which hasn't been particularly useful, is when I dip into meditation, and then I don't do it again for a couple of weeks, and then I do it again, and then when I go and do it again, my thoughts are all over the place, and I get very frustrated because I think, oh, I can't do it, or I should have been doing this more regularly. And when you get stuck into that should space, then it gets a little bit complicated, and it can be quite self-defeating. So 10 minutes a day of just sitting still and just allowing your thoughts to come and go without freaking out on them or getting too frustrated with yourself. Just let them happen. The meditation is a massive one, and when it's practiced regularly, it's so beneficial. Really connecting with people, and occasionally as well. I mean, I'm not suggesting anyone that's devoted their life to music should go and retrain as a postman, but it's really interesting in this period where we have had our hands tied, where we are not able to go and perform in the context, anything like the context that we were this, at the beginning of the year. Broaden your horizons. Just play around. What else can you be doing that allows you to use your creativity in different ways? Money is very important, but just putting that to one side, how can you use your creative mind to stimulate yourself? Do you want to go and draw? Do you want to paint? Do you want to just play? What is it that you want to do, or what is it that you can do that allows you to express yourself, have your creative outlet regardless of the outcome? Just let your creativity flow a little bit. I think I've struggled with this at times throughout the last 6 months, throughout the lockdown. I haven't felt like making any music. And then I realized, well, it's because I don't want to make music for a nightclub, because I know I can't go to any nightclubs. So I've gone and done something else. I've gone and made some down tempo stuff, or just played around and done something to stimulate my musicality, my creativity.
That's brilliant advice. So use your creativity, tap into that, look at what transferable skills you've got, maybe explore other areas, have some sort of routine that maybe involves something like meditation or breath work, and getting out into nature.
There's that, and then one more thing, which is the best way to take you out of your own head is to go and do something for somebody else. What can you do for somebody else less fortunate than you? Anything. Call them, speak to them, reach out, help. What is it? What can you do that takes you out of your own head and makes whatever's happening about the other person?
That's a lovely footnote to end things on, Matthew. Thank you so much. Really, really great advice. Very, very much appreciated. Something that you're very, very, very welcome. Something that we can all go away and use ourselves. For more information on what we've discussed today, please visit the links in the chat room, where you'll also find a link to AFEM's Mental Health Guide to the Electronic Music Industry. Check them out. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you.